welcome to another episode of Game Grids 4D. Not with us today is Drew. Instead, we have Justin with us today. We've been trying to get on the show for a couple of weeks, scheduling conflicts, because today we're going to talk about his performance at the latest PTQ, where he played a Naya Pod deck up in Boise, right?
Yes, Naya Pod, that's where it's at right now.
So you finished in the top 8, got pretty close. So you played... Earlier talk said you played against 3 Delver lists. What are some of the other notable matchups that you played against?
I played against a 4-color pod list. He was playing the same like Naya, but he had blue for phantasmal images. So but it was such a greedy deck. It had so many colorless lands. I wouldn't recommend it. If you were lucky, I would. But I played against Wolf Run first round. That was fun. He had a lot of board wipes, but I was able to get there. Gavany Townships really was the all-star pretty much throughout the tournament.
Really?
Yeah, so it was definitely Gavany Township. 3 Delvers, a Wolf Run, 4-color pod. There's another deck list in there I'm forgetting about, but
any Freets decks? Frights?
There was, but none of them. I played none against none of them.
Gotcha.
There was not Affinity, Tempered Steel deck that was. There was a few.
Haven't seen one of those in a while.
Yeah, I know. They were tearing through. They didn't make it very far. Best one probably finished X and 3, but.
Gotcha.
But,
and so how'd you fare against, Drew and I have talked in the past about the Delver list. How'd you fare against Delver over the weekend?
I felt Delver was a really good matchup for me. Delver's got a lot of draws that they can do. Mm-hmm. They got a lot of points of attack. That's all I can say.
That's true. We've actually, we've talked about that pretty extensively on our other videos where the sideboard can kind of shift the focus of the deck, depending what you need to come across. So overall, you finished top 8. So obviously you wish you could have finished a little bit better because that's the goal going to PTQ.
First or last. That's how I feel.
Cut the day early, get it, and jump on the grab home or win.
Yeah.
So what cards do you feel, like you just mentioned Gavany was the all-star.
Oh, Gavany was great, yeah.
What cards in the deck do you feel underperformed that you would have felt could have been replaced by something else?
I did Geist Honored Monk because it was supposed to help with Delver, help slow them down when they have, Geist or whatnot because it can block a flying creature, but... I didn't like it very much. Even with the extra creatures, it didn't seem like it was very good. Against people with bonfires, they didn't have to bonfire for a lot to kill it. It could be a 7/7 and die to a one-shot bonfire.
Exactly.
So I didn't like that guy very much. Geist Honored Monk was not where it was at. I would much rather have had Wolfear Silverheart the whole day. He would have been much better. I had Green Sun Zenith in my deck, so he would have been much better target. There's actually a game where I had Game 1 had a Green Sun in hand, but my Wolfear had already died, and I would have won the game if there was another Wolfear in the deck. So I definitely feel like the +4/+4 is so helpful. It's really good in the bonfire mirrors, and it's good because even your bird is bigger than a Restoration Angel. So that's a really big plus right now.
And we've talked about how much Restoration was seeing play. That guy's all over the place.
Everyone was playing him.
So your list, obviously you're running a number 4 of things like Strangler Root Guys, birds, 4 birds?
4 birds, 4 Strangler Roots, 4 Pilgrims. The Strangler Root was a lower count before. I was running Thalias instead, but I feel Strangler Root is a little stronger. The haste helps, gets damage in there. Delver kind of hurts themselves a lot with their Phyrexia mana spells.
Yeah, for sure.
That's helpful. It's great to pod away. Your 3-drops are pretty important in that deck. I like getting a 3/2 and a Fiend Hunter. That's always that's nice. Or a Blade Splicer.
So how many toolbox style creatures did you have in the deck? You mentioned Fiend Hunter just now. How many of those were you running? Other cards like that?
The toolbox, that's the point of the pod is to be able to find those 1-ofs. I didn't really. The toolbox mostly was in the sideboard for me.
Okay.
It was 2 Geist Honoreds and a Wolfear Silverheart in my 5. So I guess Wolfear would be a toolbox creature.
Okay.
I was playing Green Sun Zenith, so I'm thinking about maybe Tracker in the future because that's a great Green Sun target in this current environment. But I just think Fiend Hunter. Fiend Hunter's my Fiend Hunter and Borderland Ranger. There was only 2 of those.
Does a lot of work.
Yeah, Borderland Ranger was also pretty awesome.
So what cards, you said they were mostly in the sideboard, what toolbox creatures did you have sitting in there, and what did you bring them in for?
Well, I had a Stinger Fling Spider.
Okay.
That was against Delver, or even the Mirror, because it's a pretty big butt, and it can kill a Restoration Angel. Usually your Restoration Angels get you there in the games, even against Mirrors where they have Restoration Angels. If yours becomes a 4/5 first, you're going to win that game.
So you were playing Restoration Angels.
I was playing the heck out of Restoration Angels. I had 3 in the list, and I was playing a 1 of Near Hearth Pilgrim or something, and then I took that 1 of out and just played another Restoration.
Because you have plenty of creatures in that deck that take advantage of that restorational effect. You know, you have the Hunt Masters.
Oh, definitely.
Stranger Root guys, if you want to make, even if they've died once, you know, you can reset that counter. Definitely. And, you know, save guys that are, you know, the guy does work.
You know, the thing about Restoration Angel is if you're not prepared and you're playing against someone with Restoration Angel, and you're not playing the correct way, they're going to get you with it. So it's just funny because a lot of people even had the Vapor Snags or had the Gut Shots afterwards. They'd show it to me, and it's like they just didn't play it right. It's like, you know, kill the guy that's trying to get bounced. Otherwise, I'm going to get great value almost every time.
For sure. So, and it's definitely going to be one of those telling signs where your opponent's sitting there, 4 land or 4 mana sources up, and they go.
Yeah,
you're like,
definitely.
Huh. And because then were you playing the 3/3 flash guy?
I was not playing the Avenger, no.
But some decks are, and it's definitely, you know, when you're leaving that mana up, we've talked about the Avenger before, so you have the green decks that might be playing the Avenger, might be playing the Restoration Angel. So many guys, it's like, Flash.
Yeah. Well, then and I had the Mana Sink to throw my mana away into the Gavany if necessary. Sure. So even faking the Restoration Angel wasn't
you still get advantage out of your mana at the end of turn.
One of my favorite plays was play Huntmaster, next turn say go, flip Huntmaster, end of turn Restoration Angel, say go, flip Huntmaster. I did that a lot actually over the tournament. So
nice. Getting good use of that guy's flip. People put Huntmaster to work. That guy,
he will work. Heck, if you get 2 of them, you can kill a Restoration Angel. I mean, that definitely happens sometimes. So
what was what did you find was your toughest matchup of all the matches you played? Who gave you the biggest fit that you either won against or lost against?
Well, there was another Naya Pod player that I played against in maybe one of the last 2 rounds. He was playing an older version where he had Worm Coil Engines, he had Inferno Titan, a Sun Titan, and an Elesh Norn. Those cards are very good against me. I didn't unfortunately have a Metamorph. That was a mistake. That's something I would definitely have corrected if I had a little more time. The Metamorph was necessary. So he would have larger creatures, and those larger creatures really trumped a lot of my guys. So
now, Elesh Norn has that immediate impact on the board.
Elesh Norn kills almost everything in my deck. Flipped Huntmasters. I mean, your Restoration's a 1/2. It was difficult. Wolfear's Silverheart helps in this situation, but
still not. You don't get quite the value that you did when he comes in and gives you 8 power with the butt rather than, you know.
Yeah, that guy's deck was definitely difficult for me. I felt like it was a very hard matchup.
But I imagine he probably had a little more trouble against the Delver decks.
Oh, he got smashed.
Because, you know, we've talked about in the past where those huge creatures are just beautiful targets for those Vapor Snags.
And the Phantasmal images that they bring in. It's funny because I was worried about matching up against him in the top 8. And he got paired against Delver, and it was... I peeked over at the game every once in a while, and it wasn't even close. I mean, his Elesh Norn became their Elesh Norn, and then they both died, and he tapped out for Worm Coil, again, back to their hand. It never really materialized very much.
But obviously he was able to pilot it well enough to at least get there.
Yeah, I think definitely he might have had good matchups along the way. Sometimes that happens. I asked him, actually, he said he only played against 1 Delver deck in the Swiss. So
it was good for him then, because it definitely seems like a bad matchup against
not very
the
good.
ever-present Delver list. So we talked about, you know, kind of changes you want to make. Did you play any like the big equipments that most decks run? Did you stuff that you want to have in there? If you were to go, let's say this weekend, you talked about, you know, you don't like Geist Honor Monk. What would you change about it? Like, what would the list look like?
I would definitely not play Geist Honor Monk. I'd bring in more Wolfears. Maybe my other 5-drop would be an Acidic Slime, because I am running the Green Sun Zenith, and I did like Green Sun Zenith to help me there. I would also probably bring in swords. Maybe if I had swords in my sideboard, that'd be very important. Phyrexian Metamorph would have been great. Another one, maybe one in the deck and one in the sideboard. It would have been
because not only can Metamorph act as, you know, an offensive creature, it can, you know, you're like, hey, I really like my Wolfear Silverheart. I really like Restoration Angel.
I really like your Geist on
your Geist.
Yeah, your Geist to Trap. I mean,
exactly.
That happened
very flexible. Very flexible. Or hey, I really like your Sword of War and Peace.
Definitely. There's actually a situation where, I mean, you can have your Metamorph on your creature, then you can Restoration Angel it and turn it into whatever you want again.
Mhm.
So that's sometimes can happen. Those are good things to have happen.
The beauty of the Phyrexian Mana letting you splash that type of stuff. That's why we see
Definitely.
things like Gut Shot and Delverless.
That dismembers. I mean, I played
Exactly.
Dismember in mine. That was important.
So have you had a chance to maybe scout out what we're going to see in M13? Are you looking at? We still have a couple. We have a little while longer before Pod rotates out.
There's gonna be a nice 6-month period where Pod's. I'm gonna guess is gonna be one of the top decks. That Beast guy that costs 5, Thragtusk, I think his name is.
Pretty much has a big screw you, Vapor Snag, or unsummon.
It pretty much can negate a whole attack that Delver did in a turn.
Mhm.
You don't want to bounce it. You could pod that sucker away and have no problem. Restoration Angel.
Getting value out of it.
It's gonna be great.
Definitely the card that's been talked about online. People are like, check this guy out.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. He only costs 1 green, so that's very important in that.
Very splashable.
Yes, definitely.
You're not worried about that awkward double symbol in case you have a not ideal land draw, especially since, well, I guess at the same time we rotate, the new Phyrexian land will be losing Pod as well, so that's not too big a deal. But.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't try to speculate on spoilers and new sets until I at least get a pre-release under my belt. Because then you can really feel like what the cards can do.
For sure. Well, like we know that some of the dual lands are getting reprinted in M13.
Yeah.
We don't, like I said, we don't know what's going to come out months down the road, but we do know that the new Phyrexian lands will go with Pod. So we'll see what things we get to fill those gaps coming up.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the? Is there going to be a place for the boar? The
2/2?
Yeah, that gets +1/+1 if the amount.
Why not?
Find a spot?
He can find a home, I'm sure. Stronghold Guys is still much better, if you ask me, in this situation. But the deck doesn't really play that many 2-drops because Strangleroot Guys can be so good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can get your 3s twice with it. So
yep.
I don't know. To be honest, I don't think you're going to have that many more targets or many more reasons to play aggressive things than that because you're trying to be mid-range.
Understandable.
So maybe. It really depends on how aggressive. If aggressive deck is good right now in that format, then I think that the guy can definitely find a home. I mean, a 3-mana 3/3 haste is pretty good, but it's been proven before. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to talk about? How did you feel about anything you want to bring up about the PTQ? Anything in particular?
No. I'll leave that one. You can ask me later if you want to know that story. I would say Bonfire. Bonfire. Play it, love it. Play it in the main. Don't sideboard it because you're going to bring it in almost every game. So if you're bringing it in every game, you might as well leave it in and then just take it out.
That's
when
true.
It's no good.
You know, if you find yourself, no matter what the matchup is, finding the same sideboard cards, you think, well, if this is always the right choice,
definitely,
let's make it the right choice.
You're going to see a rise in mana guys lately, and soon. I mean, there's going to be people are going to be playing birds until they're gone. People have been playing mana dorks for a very long time. So I think if you could find a deck that's good against killing mana guys, I mean, Zombie has Mortar Pod and Tragic Slips. Those are pretty good.
For sure.
I mean, Gut Shots and Delver. I mean, that happens sometimes. Unfortunately for me through the tournament, none of my turn one birds got Gut Shot. So
feeling pretty good about that one.
That's a pretty good start. Yeah, when you can get to turn 2 with the bird still, you're doing okay because it's gonna be a Blade Splicer. So
awesome.
I definitely think the deck can still be viable. Borderland Ranger will help even with the dual lands missing.
Sure,
you can do the Borderland Ranger is a lot of value.
Gotcha.
That's for sure. Some of my issues I had was like acidic sliming my 1 mountain in the deck. So it's like those are some issues that I had to figure out. I mean, because there's only so many non-basic lands. So
yeah,
I don't know. That happened.
And do you have Cavern in your list?
I did have Cavern in my list.
How many are you running? What did you call with Cavern? What were you looking at?
Humans. You're gonna hear humans.
Because I guess you have the Blade Splicer, you have the Huntmaster,
and the 1-drops if you need to get
that's right.
mana fix.
Makes sense.
Yeah, sometimes you'll say Spirit and sometimes you'll say Angel, but you won't say anything else besides that. I heard Ooze once. That was that 4-color pod deck that didn't make any sense to me, but he beat me in the top 8. It must have been right. He actually won the whole event. So
did he?
He did.
Huh.
He did, yeah. Again, ask me about it later, okay?
Fair enough.
I mean, I'm not going to do any complaining here on this forum, but I will in private time where I'll bitch about it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we're going to wrap it up. I'd like to thank Justin for joining us to talk about his deck. Top 8 at a PTQ. Still, we got a couple guys, Justin and some of the other local guys, still trying to make that pro tour.
Montana's the next stop. We're going to get there. I'm telling you. We're going to get there.
Okay, well, thanks for watching, everybody, and have a good night.
Check out the deck list.
Yeah, we'll have it online at playgamegrid.com.
All right.